What is going on, you guys? My name is CodyT503 and this is Interesting Podcast. We are coming to you guys live on September 19th, 2024 for episode 104, where today we actually have a very special guest. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it is an absolute pleasure to have the return to you guys of Mickey Mantoya.
Hey man, what's going on?
How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing all right. I'm all right. Just a little tired. It's a long weekend. It's a long week too. So yeah.
That is so awesome. Well, thank you so very much for actually joining us here tonight. It's an absolute pleasure to actually have you back.
Yeah, of course, I'm happy to be back.
All right, man. Well, let's just start out for everybody who maybe doesn't know you. Maybe you can reintroduce your name, where you're from, and maybe just what you've been up to since the last time that we talked.
Yeah, sure. My name is Mickey Mantoya. Haven't really been up to much except for just more wrestling and killing it every single weekend. Yeah, no, that's it. Just so busy wrestling that I got no time for nothing else.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But
That
yeah,
is
it was an
so
eventful year.
yeah. That is so interesting. So like I know that like I've actually talked to like a few of the other wrestlers about their driven passion for professional wrestling. Are you one of those people that will actually sit there and like nothing but watch professional wrestling? Like you are constantly consuming different products and whatnot?
Depends on the day, I'd say. Sometimes I'm just like so passionate. I'm just like, all right, I'm just gonna watch wrestling for whenever I get free time, and then most days it's just I don't want to look at wrestling. I kind of can't stand it. But then there are days where I'm just like, man, I really need to find some new stuff, and I just keep watching. That's rare. Most days it's just like, all right, let's do anything but wrestling. Watch a show, watch a movie, watch anything else, because it's all I think about, so I don't want to like even like watch it.
Yeah. Yeah, so like what have you actually been up to since like 2024? Like how has your year gone as far as pro wrestling?
Um, it's been eventful. I feel like I made a lot of progress overall. Yeah, a lot of I got to wrestle a lot of people that I really wanted to. Like I think big one for me was I got to wrestle Jaden twice this year. Wrestled Evan Rivers. I got to wrestle Abigail Warren. Those are the big ones for me. Oh, Sebastian Wolf. I mean, that was like back before we even did our first interview. So yeah, it just feels like I've been going up a little bit, every single month. Oh, got to wrestle Bone and Drexel again at PAL. That was also like my best tag match. Was at that last PAL. It was really good.
Yeah, so like do you have like one like favorite moment like going throughout this year since we've last talked, or like one significant match that really stuck out to you?
Yeah, probably the one in Portland with Jaden. That was at the Expo Center. After I was really like proud of that match. Overall, I think it was probably my favorite match of the year for sure.
Yeah.
Because yeah, it was really fun to like plan that match and make it happen.
Yeah. So like you just like brought up like the Expo Center. Do you feel like that was maybe like one of the best crowds that you actually interacted with? Or was there maybe another event where you were really able to resonate with the crowd?
Yeah, probably the match where I resonated with the crowd most was definitely at Peak in Everett, Washington.
Mhm.
I got to wrestle Brian Cook in a main event, and it was really nice. The crowd was like with me on every moment and beat of the match. And I really liked that in that match. Like with me and Jaden, the crowd wasn't like quite where I wanted them to be, I'd say. But like by the end, it was probably the loudest I ever had them. But like the match with Brian Cook, like we had them like at every single moment where we wanted them to be at.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was definitely like that was the best crowd, I think, for sure.
Well, we'll definitely have to get into your matches with Jaden because that is something I definitely want to bring up with you. Um, but one thing I wanted to talk to you about was the one fall winner takes all brawl, and that was at base brawl, if I'm correct, right?
Oh right, yeah. That is a 6-way, right?
Yeah, and you were facing Chris Brady, Drexel, Jonas Allen Robinson, Jaden, Marcus Erics, Charlie Avell, and then yourself. And so,
Yeah.
like, how was it kind of going throughout that match or heading into that event and then coordinating with not just like another person that you just have a match with, but actually coordinating with multiple people on what they want to do so that they can best represent themselves? How was that kind of like coordinating with all of those different people?
Um, multi-man matches are really hard. Uh, well, everyone's got ideas, and then like some people's get turned down, and
Mhm.
then you start calling a spot, and then we've been like had like throughout the whole match, and it's like actually we need to change that, and I'm like, fuck, uh, this is great. And then like, but with that match, it was kind of like we had to subtract two because Drexel and Marcus Erics are basically focused on each other for the most part, so that made it a little easier, you know. So like we were just basically wrestling. Let's see, what was that like? 5 people. Yeah, yeah. It was like 5 people wrestling essentially instead of like the 7. So it was a little less chaotic. Luckily, luckily for me, I would not have been able to handle that with 7 people.
Yeah, so like how is it like whenever you guys are actually doing like battle royals or like royal rumbles? Like how I have like absolutely no idea how you guys could possibly like coordinate all of that. Like it just seems like such a scramble, you know?
Yeah, it is a scramble. Basically, up until the last 4 or 5 people, you just go in and you're like, okay, just gotta wait it out. Unless you're one of the final 4 and 5, then you got like plans. The rest of us are just like, okay, we just gotta wait around and stomp on each other. It's like, okay, I'm tired of being stomped on. It's your turn to get stomped on. You just fucking taking turns stomping each other. That's it. It's just battle royals are not my favorite. I think they're just not my favorite. I don't know. I've never enjoyed them watching them or being in them. It is a scramble. It's a mess. It's a mess
Yeah.
until like 4 people are like standing in there.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I was sitting there and I was watching POW and I saw the promo that you did with Jonas Alba Robinson before you guys actually did that match. And you
Oh
were just like
yeah.
sitting there like, look at him. Look at him. And like it made me laugh so hard. So it's like how was it kind of like also going with our previous question, like coordinating with people on what you guys want to build as far as a promo or heading into a match? How was that kind of coordinating backstage?
Oh, like cutting a promo and like
Yeah.
weaving that into the match. Well,
Mhm.
it's trickier. Like when you got like specific plans, right? And like you mentioned a certain thing in a promo, you got to like bring that back into the match somehow. So like you say like, oh, something dumb, right? Like for example, you say like, oh, I'm gonna throw you all over the place or whatever, right? Something generic like that. You better start throwing people in your match then, you know?
Mhm.
Like you gotta like think like, how am I gonna get my character across in this promo and then have that lead into the ring? And like it could literally be something simple as like, I'm gonna slap you. You can call out like Brian Cook, I'm gonna slap you in the face. Funny Bone, I'm gonna slap you in the face. And then like you slap Brian in the face, right? You did the thing. And then you go to slap Funny Bone, and then he just stares at you like, oh fuck, I don't want to actually slap Funny Bone. I'm a little too scared. I try to run away. He grabs me, slaps me, right? That's just the silliest example I could think of off the top of my head.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah. Yeah. So like here's a question about like maybe you beginning professional wrestling training.
Mhm.
Um what was like one thing that you really struggled with when you were actually getting yourself into professional wrestling and trying to build up that ability to do so?
The biggest struggle was probably chain wrestling for a while. Like we're just talking like the physical aspect, right? It was definitely like chain wrestling. Like you probably see in my matches, like how often do I like go for that stuff at all? Not really, because I'm not the best at it. I try to like do what I can where I can, but like that's was definitely like my biggest struggle. Like I couldn't figure out how to like get to a headlock that good for like
Yeah.
months.
Interesting. Well, I'm like I know that so like I had actually gone to the Oregon Pro Wrestling School tryout, and there
Mhm.
was like this certain hesitancy before you're actually going and like doing the bumps or doing the rolls and everything. So it's like, how did you overcome that hesitancy whenever you were actually learning something new?
Oh fuck. For me, it was just like trust what they're saying and do it. Like with bumping,
Mm,
especially, that's like the scariest thing when you first start doing this. Because like you're telling like they're telling you like okay, so you gotta throw yourself back and hit the mat really hard on purpose. And I'm like, well, I've never fallen on purpose before in my life, so how the hell do I do this without like getting hurt? Because a lot of people
mm,
they'll hit their heads, and that's so scary. And then you'll hit your head a couple times and be like, oh fuck, I don't know if I can do this because I just hit my head, and this is the scariest shit. I'm falling backwards. I have no control.
yeah,
But like I just had to like kind of kill that fear and just like fuck up and then like get back up and do it again until I start doing it right?
yeah, yeah. So it's like how is it? Because like I didn't really understand the impact in which when you're landing and you're doing a bump, just how hard it is. But it's very, very hard, and I don't feel like people
Mhm,
understand that about professional wrestling. And so, like, how is it for you to be able to be doing all of these, like, body slams or coming off the top rope or landing in certain positions and actually being able to take the brunt of the ring in which it's actually impacting your body? Like, I feel like there's just an aspect that people don't understand about professional wrestling when it comes to that.
mhm. But yeah, a lot of people feel like the ring's like soft or like it's really springy like a trampoline because that's like when you see professional wrestling, like people try to like apply what they know, right? They don't see like a wrestling ring as like hard. They don't see it like as it's dangerous. They just see like, oh, it's kind of like a trampoline. I see it's kind of springy, right? Meanwhile, it's just wood underneath it that's got some flex, and like just the amount of impact that we put in our bodies, like the only reason we can take it is because like we do it so much, like we bump so much, and like you just have to keep like upping how big of the bumps you take are. Like Zay does his big shotgun drop kick off the top, and it looks like he's gonna fold in half, and when he does it, because like he hits the mat so hard, but like he just gets back up because he's done it so much, just repetition.
Yeah. Yeah, well, one thing I wanted to bring up with you was like I kind of found this like little coordination between professional wrestling and skateboarding
Hmm.
because whenever you're going and you're, let's say like you wanted to go and do a skateboarding move, you have to commit to the actual move in order for you to be able to land it or actually be able to execute it. And I feel
Hmm.
like maybe that's the same exact thing with professional wrestling, where you actually have to commit to a move in order for it to actually work out. So like how is that for you actually committing to all of these different moves that you want to do or your own repertoire? And
Hmm.
you know what I mean?
Yeah. How do I
Yeah.
like? How do I commit? Right? How do I kill that fear?
Yeah.
Uh, I just have to think like if I don't, then I'll get hurt, right? Because if once
Mhm.
you don't commit, once you like hesitate, that's when you get hurt, right? Like you seen I think it was in Mexico. Uh, there's this one guy who like he went for like a big like shooting star press off the top, and he couldn't commit, and then he hit his head because like he stopped his momentum because he got so scared, right? I mean, he might not have been scared. He could have just like not rotated it correctly, or like he could have like halted his momentum. You got to commit and you got to do it the right way every time, and like it's really hard to do. It's really stressful to just say like, oh, just do it right and don't get hurt. But that is like what it is. You have to commit. You can't like be afraid and dictated by fear when you're doing like these actions, because if you are, that's when you get hurt.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so interesting. So, like, I know that, like, you've probably gone through, like, some pretty different experiences throughout your professional wrestling career, whether it be serious or funny or whatever. Have there ever been a time where you were actually close to breaking character because somebody just made you laugh?
Yeah, a couple times, a couple times. I try to be the person to like make somebody laugh if I can. You know, like Devin Campbell, the ref, right?
Mm-mm.
No, you don't. He's done he did a lot of DOA. He is mainly on Prestige and Defies right now. Uh, but like he's someone I always like making laugh because it's always funny too. I just anytime like I go up to him or like like I sell like towards him, I'll be like, "Oh, Devo, my dick, it hurts so bad," and he starts laughing. He's my favorite person to like make laugh. But for me, like someone who made me like laugh was probably it's probably Brian Cook. Brian Cook's really funny. He's an extremely funny guy. When we wrestled in at Peak, we were doing this little bit at the very beginning. We didn't call it; just like felt like what we should do. We just tried to like one up each other. Like I did a backflip to like one up what he did before with like a cartwheel. And then what he did before was like he started stomping and clapping, and then he just did like a really slow back roll, and the crowd went wild. And like I almost I started laughing right there because it was really funny. He's a really funny guy.
That is awesome. So, like, do you have any other, like, good memories as far as 2024 is gone, where, like, you were actually on the road with somebody and you were just having a good time?
Mm, honestly, a lot of my car rides like lately have I felt like very like alone. It's just been kind of me lately. Trying to like, give me a second to think real quick. Um, Chris Brady's always fun to ride with. Me and him have ridden out a couple times this year, and he's so funny because he just does like the most random things sometimes, like on the road. Like we'll be like right. No, I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. He'll God just does like really oddball shit.
Yeah.
We'll just be chilling somewhere like or driving. He'll be like, "Man, Tony, you fuck anybody lately?" I'll be like, "What are you? I'm married." He's like, "Yeah, you thought like fuck somebody." He's like, "You fuck your wife?" I was like, "Yeah, of course." He's like, just ridiculous shit. And I was like, "Why is this coming from?" He's like, "Nah, no. I was just like trying to break conversation." I was like, "This is the weirdest conversation, man."
Oh my gosh.
Chris Brady just tries. Chris Brady is funny, but like he just like likes
Oh
fucking
my
with people.
that is so awesome. Yeah, so, like, I know that, like, you're actually gonna be, competing upcoming with, Peak Pro Wrestling. So it's like, what is one thing that you actually really enjoy about performing for that promotion?
Um, I kind of got a lot of like control over like what I get to do. I guess I get to kind of have the matches I want. Uh, because at some places, you get told like you're gonna do X and Y, and that's exactly what you're gonna do, right? At Peak, I kind of feel like I get a little bit more uh free reign to kind of like wrestle like how I want to wrestle and be the character I want to be a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, how is that as like a professional wrestler where it's like you have to build yourself up so that then you can actually go to these promotions and be like, this is my character, this is what I do, this is how I portray myself to a point to where you actually get that freedom. But you actually have to work on that. Like you have to prove yourself to all of these promotions. How was that for you building up your whole character?
For me, I'm not much of a character guy. I think that's pretty obvious if you've seen some of my matches. I'm not really much for character. I like just moving and like doing a bunch of stuff. And I know that's probably not the best, but like when I what I like to do is just like jaw jack with the crowd when I like between the stuff I do. That's how I kind of like to do it, right? And I think I've just gotten very lucky with my bookings. Like all of them have been like I've been there, I helped set up for a long time, and then eventually I got on. And then like only like recently a couple like places like reached out to me to like, hey, we want you on the show. Like for Canada, they reached out to me, and I had that match up in Canada, and our co was also talking to me about like going up there or going down there, sorry, for match maybe in September. So like it's just for me, I just got very lucky with what I was given, and now that I've kind of built up a bit more of a resume, people are starting to look at me and like want to use me.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That's just
Yeah.
my route. I feel like the best route is probably reaching out to these places to let them know that you want to work for them, which is something I've not done.
Yeah. So like how is it like for you to like actually have to reach out to all of those different promotions that maybe you haven't worked for and maybe drop off your resume? Because like I feel like it's almost like even just like looking for a job, right? Like if
Yeah.
you reach out somewhere and maybe you don't get a response back, maybe there is that little bit of disappointment at the fact that you weren't reached out to,
Mhm.
but you still have to continue to reach out to all of these different promotions. So how is that for you whenever you're trying to coordinate on exactly where you want to go or what you want to do?
For me, it's just taking what I can get. Right now, I feel like I'm very lucky to have what I have. You know,
Yeah.
I and like to continue to have what I have. Like I haven't like left any promotions that I work for yet. You know, like I'm very lucky to have the rest of it I do have because it feels very busy. Which like not a lot of people can say like they're really busy. I feel some people are like, man, I've only get like 1, 2 shows a month, and I'm like, I constantly get like at least 4. Hopefully, I can get more. Right? I'm always trying to get more.
Yeah.
But when it comes to, like, reaching out to these places and, like, being, like, turned down, it's like you said, it's like a job application, right? But, like, just like a job application, no now doesn't mean no later. It just means not yet, right? So,
Yeah.
like, if I, like, reach out to somebody and, like, they say, "We're not interested," or they even leave me unread, I can always try, like, maybe in a few months, try, like, "Hey, I've gotten, more reps, I got new gear." Reach out to them, then once like you made some changes or like something like changed like in your wrestling career, like let's say like you wrestled somebody important, like a big name, like that's a big change. I'll be like, oh, that's the guy that wrestled, so and so.
Yeah.
Let's see like what they can do with this promotion. That's just like one of many things that can happen. Like for example, like once I get like new gear and stuff, I want to reach out to like more places again. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like, have you ever like just sat there and just looked back on your entire career or how far you've come in professional wrestling? And like, did you ever think that you would actually even be at this level that you are?
I mean, I don't know what my level is right now. I still don't feel like I'm at the very beginning of it, honestly.
Mhm.
I feel like I have yeah, I don't know if I guess the difference is now it's just in front of a live crowd, like, from what I do in training, like, I don't feel like I've progressed much past that, honestly, I just feel like I still got a lot more to, like, grow and do. I don't know
Yeah.
if that'd be, like, not the best answer, but, yeah, I don't feel like I'm that good or nothing.
Well, I know I had just seen with Peak Pro Wrestling where they did the poster for Over the Top, and you're actually on one of the
Yeah,
main people on that poster. And
mhm.
so like I get like your humbleness on you may not being as big as you think you are, but like actually being able to be on like a professional wrestling poster and be advertised as somebody that's going to be at that event, like how was that for you whenever you actually see like yourself on a poster and the company is actually advertising you to sell tickets?
I mean, it feels cool. I yeah, I don't know, fuck, I don't that's a terrible answer. But it just feels really cool. It feels like they kinda trust me a little bit. It feels like maybe the crowd even vibes with me in some way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like if
If
I'm on the poster, that mean I'm doing something right.
yeah. Yeah, so what could we actually expect from that event?
From that event, oh, like, over the top. I don't even know who I'm wrestling yet. Hopefully something good. I mean, obviously, like I think that no matter what I'm given, I'm gonna try and like put my heart into it and get the most that I can.
Yeah. Yeah. So here's just like just an observation for you. So like I kind of get this vibe from you that like you're really humble as far as like your wrestling or your wrestling career or what you want to do. And it's like, are you ever like really hard on yourself as far as like your performance or what you're doing? And like I just want to say like really fast that like I really do admire your wrestling work, and I feel like you are you are really good at what you do, and maybe you just don't see it that way. So I just wanted to say that before you actually responded.
I appreciate that. I feel like I am pretty hard on myself, but I feel like I'm hard on myself for good reasons. You know, I feel like I just want to be better.
Yeah.
Everyone should like want to be better than they were like yesterday, right? Especially like in this, you know, in this like sport, we all should be trying to like improve every single time.
Yeah.
And I always see like little things are like I know I like messed up on some things like with Abigail Warren, like I loved that match a lot, but like I feel like it was my first time being a baby face in a while. It was like really weird to see and I was like, oh man, I don't know if I'm good for like being a baby face, you know? And then Evan Rivers, I wrestled. I was like, man, I was really hard on myself after that one. Uh, because like I feel like I messed up my Canada debut, and like it was awesome to wrestle him and be given that opportunity. But I feel like I dropped the ball a little bit, for
Um
sure.
can I ask you maybe if you can explain to people why did you feel like maybe you dropped that ball a little bit?
Yeah, it just feels like I wasn't quite hitting on all marks. It feels like that head scissors wasn't right, or when I to tell you the finish, I guess like I put him in. It got a little funky on the finish, and then I just had to go for something, and I got the win, right? And it's
Yeah.
just like it happens, right? Like not every match can be perfect. You can't have a batting average at 100, right? So like after like that, I was like really beating myself up, but I realized like the day after, like you know what, it happened. I'm proud of aspects of that match. I can't look at it all as negative, right? Like if you have a plate, you know, of food as a kid, right? You don't like everything on the plate. You don't like the vegetables. You just want like the mashed potatoes. Like that's all you really care about, right? But like I got to look at the matches like that. Like there's good and bad. Like with that match with that Rivers, I like a lot of parts of it. I don't like some parts. I feel like I underperformed or I didn't do as good. But there were parts where I really liked, and then I can't just like hold on to that. I got to learn from it and like not be like bogged down by it, because like if I just like keep letting it like drag me down, then I'll never improve.
Yeah. Yeah, that is something that I've actually talked with some of the recent wrestlers with is about the ebbs and flows of professional wrestling and how there's going to be highs and then there's going to be lows. Like any professional wrestler who tries and say that every single match that they've performed in have been 100% five-star matches, I'm super proud every single time I walk away, that would be a lie. Like there has to be matches in which you walk away and you're just, I could have done better. You know what I mean? So it's like, what is it? How could you put in your own words the lows of professional wrestling, even though fans understand the highs? How could you
Mhm.
explain the lows?
Oh man, you got like another 5 hours? Man, the lows are like really long, right? Like the highs, like in professional wrestling, are very brief. So
Mhm.
like when you're really like down on yourself, like in a match, it's like it isn't just like 5 minutes. It's like the rest of the night. It's like the car ride home, right? Because when you have that low point in wrestling, you don't just like, especially for like, uh, you know, people like me, I gotta drive everywhere for it. I'm beating myself up for the entire car ride home, and I'm thinking about it, like, until I go to bed, you know?
Mhm.
Like, that's how I describe the lows, like, in wrestling. They're just really long.
Yeah.
They're just,
Yeah.
like, so long because the highs are so brief, but we live for the highs.
Yeah. So, like, is there anybody in your circle that you know in professional wrestling where you feel like you could be the most open to?
Yeah, a couple people. Like, there's definitely, like, a few people I feel like I can just, like, tell them everything. Uh, Nathan Fox is, like, a good friend of mine. We've done lots of cards together. We, do a lot of training together. He's one person for sure. And then, Murph Madsen, the '90s kid.
Mhm.
Can't tell her nothing. She's a gossip. No, I trust her. She's a good friend. We've known each other the longest in wrestling. Yeah,
Interesting.
I tell her a bunch, and she's a sweetheart. Even though she's got my belt right now, peak, but
All right. Well, I know I wanted to bring up to you your Dusk Pro Canada debut.
hmm
So, like, how was it actually being able to travel up to Canada and perform?
Oh, it was a long, long drive. Yeah, I've gone up to Canada a couple times for like help out at shows and stuff, and I was really excited because this is my official Canada debut. And we've kind of talked about it a little bit already. I feel like I underperformed in a lot of areas, but like there was some good stuff there,
Mhm.
and it was honestly really cool, especially because like Dusk is was really nice. Like the promoter, Parm, he's a great guy, and like it was just such an awesome opportunity to like debut in Canada against one of Canada's like biggest like stars, I guess, honestly, like right now on the independents at least. And honestly, I just had a really good time at Dusk. I mean, other than like like I said, I was beating myself up, but like the car ride was long. It was a long car ride because I was beating myself up over the match, but I had a really good time at Dusk. I would love to go back.
That is awesome. So it's like what did you mostly enjoy about actually going and performing for that promotion? Like
Oh, like
how was the environment different compared to what you experienced down here?
maybe it was just like the crowd on that day, but they were all like really into everything, and it was just really nice. I was like, man, I feel like I can do anything, and they would kind of cheer. Is
Yeah.
what it felt like. But like the crowd was really hot, like that day at least. So it felt like to me like they were like super hot for everybody. Felt like everybody did a great job just because the crowd was like felt like they were on fire for like so much. And it was so many people. Like I don't know if you've seen pictures from it, but like it's packed. It was like packed there.
Yeah. No,
Yeah. So
I haven't seen any pictures from it. I did see that just like you had brought up working with Adam Rivers. So like
Mhm.
how open was he to you and your ideas as far as your guys' match was going to go that night?
Yeah, he's open to a bunch of my stuff. He's like more experienced than me, so like he kind of dictated like kind of how the match should go, which I was
Mhm.
okay with because like he's amazing, far more experienced than I am. And yeah, no, it was the planning process was like pretty solid overall.
Yeah. Interesting. So like when was the last time that like you maybe worked with somebody who maybe was not as experienced as you, but yet you were still trying to guide them throughout a match? Do you enjoy kind of being the follower or the leader in a match?
Well, honestly, like the whole heel role is kind of like the person who kind of like leads a match, like kind of like they
Mhm,
dictate the pace a little bit.
mhm,
So I guess for me, like I'm more used to that. Like as for working like new people, like I feel like I haven't worked as many new people. You know, I've worked like a lot of like people about that have been doing about as long as me. And like everyone's like pretty generally good. But like I'd like the control that I do get when like I am like kind of running that, because like I get to like move my own pace and walk and talk and jaw jack with the crowd. I mean, I don't know if maybe I don't like it more. Maybe I'm just more used to it, honestly. If that makes sense.
Yeah. So let's go back to the match with Evan Rivers. So I know that like there are always high points in a match where it's like you guys are really trying to get the crowd involved. At what
Mhm.
point during that match that you guys had did you feel like it was the high point where people really understood what you guys were trying to tell in the ring?
Yeah, probably. So there's a spot where I was supposed to go up for a crossbody. Basically, right before that, I just like was doing my best to fire up, and like that's when the crowd was like at their highest, and I feel like they were following the match up until then,
Mhm.
especially. So that was like the highest point in that match for me.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like what was there any other point during this year where like you feel like your character was really resonating with fans, or do you feel like that is something that is growing with you right now?
I'd say it's still growing. I feel like at POW, my the crowd is like kind of over my character because my character POW is a little sillier and like a little bit more of a like cocky smarmy heel. I like doing that. I think that's like generally where my crowd interactions like maybe either it's at my best at peak or at POW. I feel when it comes to character interaction stuff.
Yeah. So like how do you kind of like channel your inner heel whenever you're playing that character? Like how do you go about that?
Well, at POW it's like a bit more of like a scaredy cat, I guess. Whereas like peak, I'm more like angry, a little more hard hitting. It's kind of like I feel like I'm trying out a lot of things at different places. At
Yeah.
POW, I do like kind of being like a little bit of a scaredy cat. I don't know. I feel like the crowd likes that more, and it resonates with them.
So, like, whenever you start something, like, let's say, like, one show you wanted to kind of play like a scaredy cat, and then the next you wanted to be like a little bit more serious. Do you have to be more aware of exactly how you're being portrayed at one show to like kind of like carry on into the next?
Um, kind of yeah. So like, if I'm like a scaredy cat heel, like a POW, right? Like I'm a scaredy cat heel at POW, but at DOA, I'm not really like a scaredy cat, right? Like you don't see
Mhm.
me run away that often. You know, it's like
Yeah.
I take it show by show, right? So like DOA and POW probably have similar audiences, like a little bit. I've seen some crossover, but not much, right? It's a 2 hour difference of driving between like Portland and Eugene, right? So like I can play a different character. I can be, a totally different character. Like Chris Brady's a baby face at POW and a bad guy, a heel at DOA, you know?
Mm. Yeah. Yeah, I wanted to bring up to you some videos that I actually saw
Mhm,
on Facebook, and there was one where you were doing a like front flip springboard
mhm.
back up,
Oh,
and then you were caught into a
DDT?
a shoulder catch, and then you turn it into a DDT, and
Yeah.
it's like how do you even come up with those moves in the ring? Like how do you coordinate with all the other wrestlers?
Well, it's one of those things, you just gotta go for it, right? We
Mhm.
were talking about earlier. You just gotta commit and try it, right? The where we got the idea to like do all that was from we stole it off of social media, right? Jaden found it and then he sent it to me and said, "Hey, I think you can do this." And I said, "I think I can too." And then I tried it and I did it, right? I just kept trying until I got it. I try I was like scared. I was like, man, I'm not used to like people like catching me out the backflip, right?
Mhm.
So then once like I did it with Chris Brady, I was like, okay, I can probably do this in a match. If I can do it with like I just gotta find people to do it with, right? That's the other thing. Like certain moves just can't be done with like certain people, you know?
Yeah,
It's like Chris Brady, like, yeah, I can do it.
so, like, how often do you, like, sit there and, like, maybe come up with, like, a new move set or, like, a coordination of moves? Like, "Oh, I could do this in this match," like, "We could do this and this," and, like, how often does that, like, run through your mind?
All the time. Like I'll just like be thinking about like wrestling like I'm at work, and
Mhm.
I'll just get like an idea. It's like, oh, what if I string this and that together? Sometimes I see something on social media, and I'll be like, oh, what if I incorporate that with this, or what if I, there's so many things that like inspire me. Most of the time, I feel like it's all in here, but sometimes like I saw something on social media.
Interesting. Yeah, I know. There was another video where you were just standing in this ring, and then you're able to do like a standing backflip. Like, when did you actually like
Oh,
able to
wait,
put that under your belt?
the backflip. Oh, I've been doing that for a little bit, but like, are you talking the video I think you're talking about is doing a gainer. So like, I go forward on the backflip, right? So I do a backflip and I move forward a little bit. So I mean, I was just like, I think I can do them because like it's a little tricky. It's not just like you go up and down. You got to go up and forward a little bit while moving backwards. And I was just like, I think I can do it. I think I can land on my feet, right? Because I want to do a shooting star press. I was getting worried. I'm like, there's a lot of moves where like I think I know I can do them, but I like kind of scared too because like, what if I land on someone bad or hurt them? You know. So I
Yeah.
don't do like too many like splashes. Like I did like a moonsault to Jaden's leg was like the last time I did a moonsault. Because like I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I won't. I mean, like I was working that leg, but I wasn't really, you know.
So what about your 630?
Oh,
Um
6:30. I want to do it so
yeah.
bad in the match, but that's like so. Like I don't know. How do you tell someone like, hey, you want to take this move where I land on you really hard whilst doing two back front flips? It's kind of hard to get people to be like, oh, yeah, I don't want to. Yeah, I'll definitely take that. It's
Yeah, so
gonna suck.
how did you even like start to like get like those rotations? Because like you have to like really, just like we've brought up multiple times during this podcast, like really commit yourself to actually rolling, you know? Like how did you actually get that rotation down to where like you could actually execute it?
Well, I can do a front flip, and I'm like, I think I can do maybe like half of one if I'm on the top rope. And I just had to try it, right?
Mhm.
So I've only done the 6:30 like twice in practice, right? And like in the video you saw, that was my second time doing it. First time I did it, I was like, okay, I think I can do this. I just had to stand up there for like a good long while. And then eventually I just did it. I was like, I know it sounds shitty, but like you just gotta like commit. Like I'm like, okay, if I do it, I just gotta do it good and like live, right? And then that's my mindset going into it. I just had to like commit to it and then hope for the best. Once I got through the first backflip and started doing the second, I was like, I'm good. I feel all right. I'm not
Yeah.
dead. And then I did it, and I did it again. And I was like, okay, I can do this. Want to do it in a match, but like I said, how am I going to convince someone to take it is the thing. Because like it's just going to suck for both of us, right?
Yeah.
It's just like there's no good way to do it. Like I can't land on someone soft on that at all.
Yeah.
You
So
know?
here's a really interesting question. So like, was there any time throughout your entire professional wrestling career, or maybe any moves that you have attempted to execute where it actually ended up scary
Like in a match or just in
in
general.
training, in a match, just anything,
Anything that like could have gone scary or like it felt like it did.
or at least
Um,
it like it came close to being.
um, yeah, actually, this one just was scary. First time I took a DDT, landed right on my head. It was terrible. I got it hurt so much. It was just a regular DDT.
Yeah.
There's other time I took a hip toss, and that really messed me up.
Hmm.
One that got
Interesting.
close was there's one I can't think of anything. And I know there's times where like it was close, but I don't think about those. I just think about the times like it just really fucking hurt. Honestly,
Yeah. Yeah, that is so interesting. Well, I know one question that I had somebody that they actually wanted to ask you was like, did you have any like gymnastic
no,
training? No,
zero, nothing,
zero. That is
nothing.
so crazy because like you are like really agile with like the way that you're able to move throughout the ring. Like you have that agility with you. And so it's like when did you actually know that like you could do those things in the ring or start to practice on them?
Um, I just felt like I could do it, I guess. Like with the backflips, I was like, "That's not man, that sounds fucking like an asshole," but like I just kind of felt like I could do it. Uh, I just felt that like I jumped pretty high. I was like, I'm pretty sure I can do a backflip, right? And I just had to keep going through my head. I was like, okay, what's the worst thing that can happen? Right? I can do a moonsault. So if I can land a moonsault, I'll be fine, right? I just gotta rotate a little bit more. And like, what's the worst that can happen, right? I'll hit my knees. I'll land on my knees. That's not that bad. And there's a cushion underneath me. That's okay. I'll be okay. If I try to land on my feet, I'll just fall down on my butt. Then I'll be fine. So I just had to do it, and I tried it, and then I landed on my feet, and I fell back, and I was like, "Oh fuck, I can do this." And I just kept doing it over and over again. I was like, "Oh fuck, I can do a backflip. I can do try to do a front flip," and I was like, "Okay, I can do a front flip."
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So like did you have like one like favorite opponent so far in 2024, or are you looking forward to somebody that maybe would cap off 2024 for you?
Oh, someone who cap off 2024 for me would definitely be Zay Perez right now.
Why
Uh,
so?
why so? Because very early on we wrestled each other. It was like my fifth or sixth match. It was like his third or fourth match. We were both very early into our wrestling careers, and frankly, I want to run it back and do a better match. And I can't wrestle Spencer right now because, like, once I wrestle Spencer, then I'll wrestle all the super aces.
Mhm.
But it's Spencer's hurt, so I need to wrestle Zay so we can have a really good match. Because I feel like I can say, you know, I had good matches with Jaden. You know,
Mhm.
especially the one at the Expo Center. I feel like I could say like I had good matches with Jaden. I want to have a good match with Zay and Spencer. I got to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, so
Not
it's
for
like
anyone, just for me.
so what is like one wrestler here in the Pacific Northwest that you have competed with that maybe you really like look up to and you're like they can actually bring out the best in me?
um, I mean, I guess like it already kind of happened, right? When I wrestled Jaden, I felt like that brought out the best in me, my best wrestling performance overall, right?
Mhm.
Like he's someone like I've looked up to for a while, but I was always kind of intimidated by it because like I always thought he was so good,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
And then like
Yes.
another one's um, probably Chris Brady. Like he's someone like I respect really heavily.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
we've had fun
Yeah.
when we wrestled, so
So like do you ever like question yourself on just how good you are?
all the time. Sometimes there are days when I think, man, I might be good at this. Then every other day is like, no, maybe not. Maybe stop. You
Well,
know?
I know one thing that I wanted to bring up to you was that video with you and Jaden, and you guys were performing in Independence, and you had made that video with How Do You Like Me Now
Yeah,
in the background,
yeah.
and just watching that video, like I'll just say it, like, even if, like, maybe you don't sometimes believe it, but you are a really good professional wrestler. Like, I can actually attach to what you're trying to do in the ring. So if you're ever feeling as if, like, you're not, like, that's where, like, it's so confusing, you know? It's like,
Hmm.
how could you not think that what you're doing is good or, like, it cannot resonate with fans? And, like, I get that, like, that's probably gotta be a struggle, but it's just so interesting to try and understand that, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um, I guess for me, it's just like, I guess it's internal, right? Like I feel it in like inside that like something's not quite there sometimes, right?
Yeah.
Like they like wrestling's a feeling. A lot of people just say that it's a feeling, but like it really is. Like you feel in your heart when like you're on like the same like level with like the crowd. And like if you don't feel like that is there, like if you and your opponent like and the crowd aren't on the same page, you know, if you're not on the same page, you just don't feel it. You know. There are times when like you feel it really hard. Like there are matches when I felt it. There are matches when I don't feel it at all. If that's not there, then like it makes me feel like I'm bad at wrestling. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I know earlier you had said that like professional wrestling being like a sport. So like what do you think is like an aspect that people don't understand that really makes professional wrestling have that sport aspect to it?
Well, I'm running and falling down and jumping. That's basically what football is, isn't it? We just don't have a ball. Um, but yeah, no, I feel like your heart rate's moving. I feel like if you're like exerting yourself and pushing yourself to like limits,
Mhm.
that's like what a sport is. It's a competition, and wrestling is like the ultimate competition. In that way, because like it's not just like you're like fighting somebody else. You're fighting the entire room. You know.
Yeah, interesting. So like how do you feel your whole year of 2024 is gone as far as your career? Like do you feel like you've really made some progress?
I hope so. I feel like I have in a lot of ways. I feel like in a lot of
Yeah,
ways I have. I feel like some people take me a little bit more seriously. Um, but like I'm not quite there yet. I still got a little bit more ways to go before like I feel like I can say like yeah I'm doing this right. But like I feel like I'm making steps in the right direction. That's what this year kind of felt like. Like steps in the right direction is like a very accurate sentence.
that is awesome. So it's like what can we expect from like 2025? Do you have any like specific plans or like promotions or places that you want to travel to? Like what are your plans for next year?
Next year, hopefully I can wrestle out of state. Might take a little break with Disney World. That's next year. Uh, Maybe wrestle out of state. I want to be on Define Prestige. A lot of people say I can hang there, and I want to believe them, and I want to be there. So
Yeah.
that's my goal right now. Wrestle out of state and be on those two shows right now. At least one of them, right? Uh, that's goal. That's my goal.
That is so awesome. So like if we could actually end up as like just a final question for you before we end up closing everything out is like what is like one of the accomplishments that you want to actually get going into your future? Like what are you looking mostly forward to?
What am I looking forward to most?
Mhm.
Hmm. Well, I mean, with wrestling, nothing's set in stone. It is like kind of hard to look forward towards the future sometimes. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, oh, I want to do this next year, right? Like I want to be on Prestige and Defy, but like to like say like it's gonna happen is like really hard. Well, I
Yeah.
guess what I look forward to most is maybe winning a belt, right? Like I think at some places have talked to me about it a little bit, but that's what I guess that'd be something I can look forward to.
That is so awesome. Well, I just want to thank you for actually allowing me to be able to sit down with you or taking time out of your personal day to actually sit down with me. Like it really does mean a lot to me and it's an absolute pleasure every time.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for inviting me.
All right. Well, I hope you have a very, very good night and I hope that I can actually see you in Independence and next time we're definitely going to have to take a picture.
Yeah, for sure. I know I'm wrestling independent, so yeah, it should be a good one.
Awesome. All right. Well, I will definitely see you there and I hope you have a very, very good night.
All right, you too, man. Take care.
Bye. All right, you guys. So that was Interesting's podcast interview with Mickey Mantoya. Make sure to hit that like, subscribe button, ring that notification bell so you guys get notified whenever I upload content. Make sure to go and follow me on social media at CodyT503. That's Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. I'll catch you guys later.